Heather.
Hi, Bianca.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So I had the opportunity to take a look at your lesson plans and review those. And so can you just tell me what is your overall objective for your lesson?
So my overall objective is I'd like my student to apply 2 different before reading strategies to the book Big Nate that we'll read today. Okay. So I would like him to apply 2 different strategies and then at the end of the lesson be able to verbalize how he used those strategies and how they benefited his comprehension, since we're focusing on metacognition.
So you stated that you wanted him to review 2 different before reading strategies. What are those strategies?
So making a prediction and asking questions.
Okay.
I also had him set a purpose. That's also part of a before reading strategy, is setting a purpose for the reading, but our purpose will be metacognition, considering what he's thinking about when he's reading. So that is actually our purpose throughout our metacognition lessons this week. So kind of focusing on a mini unit on that.
Okay, so can you tell me why did you want him to focus on this? What was the data that you collected from previous lessons that made you feel like this would be a good instructional choice?
Well, to be honest with you, it goes back to the CRI, because I did notice that occasionally he would have difficulty understanding some fine points in fiction texts, and he might not know exactly how to engage with the text before reading. So while he's reading, I think sometimes he isn't thinking about what he's reading, and not that he gets distracted, I just think that he isn't being metacognitive during the reading. So I think if I can explicitly teach strategies this week, then he can begin to internalize these skills. And by the end of the lessons, it's something that I hope, especially as an incoming 6th grader, that he'll be able to do on his own without support. Because right now his instructional level is a 5th grade text. And as he moves into middle school, he's going to need to know how to engage with these texts on his own. So that's really where it came from. I notice oftentimes I'll scaffold lessons for him, and this will allow me to give him the tools to make his own scaffold.
Okay, and how you said it will allow you to give him the tools. Why do you say that?
Because what I'm going to do, not only are we going to spend each day focusing on explicit metacognition strategies, I'm almost going to have him be metacognitive about the metacognitive strategies. So I'm going to have him actually produce a presentation that he's going to actually encapsulate his own knowledge into this Adobe Spark video. So each day we'll focus on some new strategies. So today, when you come and see me, it will be before reading. Tomorrow we'll do during reading, strategies that good readers do during reading. The following day is when I'm really going to get into that piece where I find he misconstrues some details. So I'm going to talk about fix-up strategies. And then I'm going to close off the week with after reading, what good readers do after they read. And each day I'm going to have him add a slide to the Adobe Spark presentation. So he's going to record himself speaking, he's going to add some illustrations, and then that way he can actually externalize what's going on internally.
Can you tell me more about your decision to have him create a presentation using Adobe?
Sure, so he loves technology. We will be reading the book on Epic, so he'll be reading it using an iPad as well. I just find that he becomes very engaged when he's using technology, and I think having anything that has to do with creativity or writing, he really enjoys it. And I think actually having him take ownership of the strategies I'm teaching him will, again, help him internalize something that I'm teaching him externally.
Okay, so overall it sounds like you want to focus on the 2 different before reading strategies, which is making a prediction and asking a question. The results from the CRI prompted you to do this. And overall he's going to make Adobe presentation with the before, during, and after reading strategy. So each day the focus will be something different. He's adding to those slides, and overall is the Adobe PowerPoint, is that like the culminating assessment? How do you plan to assess?
So actually no, that's not the assessment. What I'm going to do is actually have him apply these metacognitive strategies to a piece of text that he's less interested in. So Big Nate was self-selected, it's high interest graphic novel, it's right up his alley. So he's very interested in this text. So what I'm going to do at the end of the entire unit, I'm going to have him read a text that perhaps is less engaging, perhaps is less interest, and I'm going to have him use these strategies to read it and comprehend what he's read. And I'm going to have him discuss one indicator under before, during, and after that he used to make sense of what he read.
Okay, so instead of focusing on with before, instead of focusing on both of those strategies, you're only going to focus on one. And then the same thing for during and then the same thing for after?
In the assessment. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how will you, how will he be successful? Like, what would you consider him to do or to complete during this lesson that will make him successful?
To be successful, he will use both strategies that I've explicitly taught, and he'll be able to explain what he did with those strategies and how it helped him comprehend the text.
And suppose that he's unable to explain what he did with those strategies and how he was able to comprehend the text, how would you modify this lesson?
It's something that we would have to revisit again.
Okay.
It's something that will guide him to success,
Mhm.
but I won't consider him successful until he can do it independently.
Okay, so
So
it sounds like,
I'm
No, it sounds like if he's able to make the prediction and he's able to ask the question about the text, but if he's unable to explain how it helped him, you won't consider him to be
I
successful.
won't consider him metacognitive. I will just consider him, following the explicit instructions I've given him. So he would be successful in reading comprehension,
Mhm.
but not in being metacognitive.
Okay. And what then would you like me to select?
So what I'd like you to do is directly linked to the strategies. I'd like you to take a look at the lesson, see if he uses both strategies, and collect data. If you could write down what he's written so that maybe together we could analyze it. So we could think about, is what he's writing appropriate for the text? And then at the end of it all, what I'd like to do is listen to his recorded video and see if the data that you collected coincides with his explanation.
Okay, so it sounds like you want me to listen to the lesson to see if he's able to make the prediction
Mhm.
and to ask the question and to see if he's able to verbally explain how those two strategies helped him to better understand the text.
Right.
Then you are